If you guys are struggling on BOMMAL like 99% of players right now, stay tuned for this video because this weekend we've got a 10x that could be just for you. Let's get right into it. Okay, so before we get into these 10x champions, this BOMMAL boss has been a pain for 99% of the community for this last week. There's a difference between a challenge and just something that you need specific champions to do, and if you are one of those people that like to progress in the Doom Tower, this 10x right here has been made for you, so make sure you're participating, especially if you're going for the fusion as well. So let's go over the 8 champions and what kind of uses they can have against BOMMAL for your team. Let's get into it. So heading into the Shadowkin, Ogryn. I'm pretty sure you've seen all of the amazing videos that content creators have put out over the last week. This champion right here, MVP for the solo strategy, but he's not number 1 I'd say on this list, but he's definitely number 2 or number 3. So this Soulmonger skill here on the passive heals this champion by 50% of their max HP whenever an ally or an enemy dies. So what are those little things on the side of the boss? They are dread bombs and they are classed as enemies. So whenever they explode, it procs his passive, and as long as you've got him built in a regen set and an immortal set, you can boost him up to full every single time. But the requirements are extremely hard. So don't just think you can pull this champion and be able to beat the hardest stage of the Doom Tower. You need to be farming the Fire Knight, getting a really good regen set, and having your HP well above, I would say 75,000 to 90,000 HP. So if that's something you could do, Ogryn is a very solid option. But if you're just trying to participate in the normal Doom Tower, and your speeds won't have to be as kind of intensive. So let's get into the next champion. Then following that, who would have thought that this guy would have became meta? Samar Gemcursed. How many of you guys pulled this champion and slapped him in your vault? And now he's become one of the most viable champions for one of the hardest things to do in the game. This champion here, amazing, and once again it's down to his passive. Places a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn at the start of each round, and then as an active effect blocks incoming damage with a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn when they receive a hit that would drop their HP below 30%. This right here is why you want to summon this guy. He's pretty much unkillable, and it's just amazing to watch. I can't really think of the person that put a video out on it. It may have been Stu Gaming, so I'll link his video in the description, or if I find any other people I'll be sure to link it. But Samar Gemcursed is one that I would love to have on my account. Personally, I've only got a Ogryn to do this strategy. Okay, so next up here we're going to go into the Ogryn Tribes, and it's going to be this Void legendary champion, Gurgur the Augur. I'm going to say one thing. Freeze does mitigate the damage that the dread bombs do to you, but this boss just has so much going on. It's like you don't have time to even think, and without a solo strategy, the requirements of high resistance and decreased accuracy and all of these kinds of things is really hard. Like for me personally, I use the Whirling Frost King, and if you don't have that champion, there is a few more we're going to go into in this 10x, but it's really tough guys, especially when you get into the harder stages of the hard Doom Tower. So this champion here is all about the freeze. Look at this, we've got freeze here, and a freeze here, and has a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff on the attacker. That passive's not really going to be in use because the bomb's going to explode by then. I guess you could make him work in a tanky setup with some high resistance, but definitely if you need a freeze champion and you're summoning void shards anyway, Gurgur won't be a bad one to pull in my opinion. So heading into the next champion. Okay, so the next champion on this list is in the Undead Hordes, and can you guess it before I click it? It's going to be Mr. Anax, and this champion is really solid traditionally for the clan boss teams, but what does he provide that makes him so useful for BOMMAL? Let's go. It's going to be the A3, or is it the A2? Yep. Attacks one enemy 2 times, and each hit has a 100% chance, once booked, of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff and a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns, and that is on a 3-turn cooldown. If you can build this guy fast enough with some high accuracy, you're going to be able to place that decreased accuracy, which drops that crazy 1000 accuracy that the BOMMAL has on stage 90 down to 500, which is still kind of insane. Please nerf it, plarium. The requirements are just way too high for the average player. I know that it's endgame content, but sometimes it's just a bit absurd. There's just too much going on. Like in my personal opinion, you got to think about the bombs, you got to think about resistance, accuracy, HP. There's just so many requirements that you need to squeeze into all of your champions, and it's really resource intensive, especially when you want to use your champions in other areas of the game, not just the Doom Tower. But yeah, that's just a little thing that I wanted to say there. But this champion's got decreased defense, weaken, but the main thing is decreased accuracy. Let's head into the next champion. So the next one's going to be in the High Elves, and where is she? Exemplar. So if you're summoning for Gergo and you don't manage to get Gergo, this is a champion that may be coming up on your list. So the main thing with Exemplar that makes her okay is the A3. Has a 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn, but attacks 1 enemy. Is this supposed to be in the 10x? Is there something I'm missing here? Weaken. 75% chance of placing weaken again and some crit rate. I don't know guys, if I am missing something on Exemplar for BOMMAL, let me know, because I kind of missed the trick here. But apart from that one freeze, who a lot of champions can probably do that, I would kind of avoid trying to summon Exemplar. So next up here, we're going to head into the Dark Elves. And it's going to be, where is he? Vizier Ovelis. This champion right here, paired with a decreased accuracy champion, is busted. It's one of the only ways, if you're not soloing with Samar or Burungiri, that you can actually beat the boss on the higher stages. And the reason for it is his A1. Attacks 1 enemy 3 times, and he increases the duration of all debuffs by 1 turn. You want to make that decreased accuracy stay up for as long as possible, so your resist champions like your Duchess or whoever you have built out, so they don't get debuffed and don't put you in jeopardy for the entirety of the run, as long as you kind of keeping an eye on things and making sure your skills are going up at the right time. So Vizier Ovelis, amazing champion. And you can also start off with this, so you can place the decreased attack and then extend his own decreased attack, and also all of the decreased accuracies and crit damage that your other champions like Whirling Frost King can provide. So the next champion here, I'm not too familiar with her kit, but it's going to be Sachi. I do own this champion. Mask of the head looks pretty cool, but I believe she must have a decreased accuracy. There we go. Attacks all enemies, has a 40% chance, 50% once booked, of placing a decreased accuracy for 2 turns. That's a pretty solid A1. I may look into that myself, to be honest. Decreased crit rate and leech, and increased attack. Revives a random ally with 30% HP whenever this champion kills an enemy. Okay, so we're not going to be really killing anything at BOMMAL, but to have a decreased accuracy on an A1, that's really interesting. I may be looking into this myself. But let's head into the next champion, and I believe it's the last one. Champion on the list is going to be Shiromani, after looking for so long, because in my head, I thought she was an epic champion. How stupid of me. But yeah, here she is anyway, Shiromani. So attacks 3 times at random, has a 15% chance of placing a freeze, also applies heals on the A2, then attacks all enemies and places the freeze on the A3. Overall, a really solid freeze champion if that's something you're into, and if you just want to mitigate the heat coming your way. I just guess the hardest thing to do is have the cooldowns down on time, because those bombs come up all of the time, and unless you can cycle this run as long as possible, it's going to be pretty hard to do. But yeah, that is the 8 champions that's on the list, and you can pretty much tell this was made just for BOMMAL, because most of the community are pretty much outraged of not having the champions to make it work. So that is going to be all for the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know in the comment section, will you be summoning for these champions, even if you wasn't going for the fusion? Catch you on the next one. Peace.